guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Okay. So then it goes back to like 15% CPU usage. It's weird. Uh, yeah. Okay, guys, we're live right now. Sorry. Welcome back to Anonymous Bites Back. This is a special about about geopolitics. There are many things going on right now. We will discuss events in the Baltic Sea, in Venezuela, Taiwan, well, many other things. I think we just have to start.
Yeah.
Please remember to share these episodes, because that's what we depend on, and we're still facing shadow bans all around social media, so we need you guys to help us out with sharing this content. Well, enjoy the show. I don't know, AK, just start with...
Okay, so everybody knows what's just took place in Venezuela. The failed or quote-unquote failed attempt. They say it's a failed attempt, but it's actually not a failed attempt. It's an ongoing attempt to overthrow Nicolas Maduro. And the captain, one of the captains involved in it, Javier Neto, actually appeared with the infamous U.S. Army Green Beret, Jordan Gudurauer. I can't say his name. It's Gudaru. And he claimed responsibility for the naval incursion of Lugora in a video that they uploaded to the internet prior to the U.S. Army Green Beret Jordan getting arrested recently. And this operation, it's known as Gideon, and it's a massive, massive operation that is quoted having the help of international allies. And I don't know what that means. I haven't really dug into it too much. But they're trying to say that this is a lone effort funded by U.S. billionaires. That's that's what they're trying to say. That's the official story of this. That it was a private coup funded by U.S. billionaires to remove Maduro. And that the Green Beret trained 300 soldiers in Colombia. Now, this is interesting because last year I wrote up an article where I had a leak that there was soldiers already in Colombia surrounding Venezuela, and they were preparing for a coup, right? It's very interesting that this happens now. And they try to say that this is a private-run operation, and it had nothing to do with the U.S. military or the U.S. government, right? Now, what we do know is that there was a leaked recording of Juan Guaido, the U.S. puppet politician for Venezuela, right? You remember Juan Guido, the guy who's connected to basically the CIA.
Yeah, that was
Uh,
he was like promoted as the replacement for Maduro, but he was actually like completely controlled by the USA.
yeah, right. Yeah, he had hands all in various different non-profits that were connected to the CIA. I can't remember the one off the top of my head that I want to talk about in regards to Juan Guido, but basically there was a recording that was leaked of Juan Guido, and uh, the recording is between Juan Guido, J.J. Rendon, and Jordan Guduru. Okay, so that's the Green Beret. Okay, so here we have intelligence information here that in this recording that Juan Guido is talking to Jordan Guduru, and Jordan is the Green Beret that was arrested by the Venezuelans, and he's being held right now. And they're saying that the official narrative of this is that it was U.S. billionaires that funded it, right? And it was a private coup. Had nothing to do with the U.S. military and the CIA. But then we have this recording that comes out. It was leaked from a journalist that is covering Venezuela. I don't know the journalist off the top of my head right now. But anyway, they leaked this recording, and it says that it's a military operation to carry out a contracted military operation in Venezuela. And this is the recording where basically it's Juan Guido and Jordan signing a contract to carry out this operation. So somebody in that room leaked this video recording. It's like if you look at the video, it's actually like the wall, right? But the audio is what's important in it. And yeah, it's very interesting that we just had a coup attempt in Venezuela, right? And then there's also another coup attempt that happened recently in Qatar. And this is just by coincidence. I'm not saying it's connected in any type of way, but it's just interesting that we're seeing all these geopolitical moves happening while we're all stuck in quarantine, forced to not pay attention to the world stage of what's going on. We're just distracted by entertainment or whatever the fuck we're doing. So
yeah, well, this is just this is just typical opportunism we see again. But so the official story, at least with this Venezuela thing, is that the ringleader who was behind this whole coup is what they're claiming, is in jail in the U.S. for narcotics charges, and they're asking him questions about that American advisor who is a former Green Beret, Jordan Goudreau, if that's his.
Goudreau, yeah.
That's pretty much the official story, right? And but what about Qatar then? Who were involved with this with this Qatar situation?
I don't fully know any more information than that there was heavy gunfire and helicopters that were firing on Al Wakra, Doha, Qatar. And there's speculation that Hamad Jassim bin Jabber was one of the people who kind of organized this coup because of a order to investigate financial and administrative corruption of Tamim bin Hamad. Now, I don't even know, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know who these people are, but in regards to Qatar, Right. I think it's very interesting that we do see a coup attempt like that happen because last year, the year before, we had a coup attempt. I think it was the year before. Year before, we had a coup attempt in Saudi Arabia, and Qatar and Saudi Arabia have been the two kind of countries that have had leadership, kind of for a long period of time, where it's royalty that's ruling the countries, and there hasn't been any real change in the leadership. Um, Now, besides Qatar and Venezuela, we also have the situation that's been going on with the U.S. and China. Now, a lot of people probably heard this week or not that China had, in a official directive, threatened the U.S. with armed invasion over the coronavirus. Over
Yeah,
blaming the coronavirus.
armed invasion or what of like the U.S. Do,
Armed conflict. I'm sorry, not invasion. Armed conflict.
you can't, but because you can't ever invade like the U.S. shores because everyone carries guns in the U.S. So it will be like,
Yeah. I shouldn't have said armed invasion. Armed conflict with the U.S. is what the directive said. In regards to China and the U.S. kind of blaming China for the coronavirus. So the U.S. has been saying that, and I can't believe I agree with the official, quote unquote, the official narrative now. But I've been saying it for months that this virus isn't normal. It's very abnormal. There's very peculiar signs there that point to the virus being a biological experiment that escaped from the Wuhan lab. Now, that's the quote unquote official narrative now that the U.S. intelligence and Mike Pompeo is pushing. And immediately after Mike Pompeo said that that the virus more than likely escaped from the Wuhan lab, we saw China respond with this directive where they were warning, and it was a leak directive. They were warning of armed conflict with the U.S. So things are kind of heating up with China and the U.S. Now, the U.S. and China have been in a trade war for the past couple months now. Actually, probably more up to a year, right?
yeah, and it is not just a trade war; it's also a media war. You see the U.S. Spreading all kind of things about China, and you see China doing the same thing. Like, remember that funny little meme video you sent me?
Yeah.
Right? Like they're doing the same thing, and they're kind of like learning from what the West historically has always done. Like the West always has like been dominating the whole propaganda war thing, but they're like using like similar methods now. It's just kind of interesting to see that. And then they have the trade war, and you have the media war, and now of course they're also threatening each other like military. I'm not sure how legit it is that they're actually planning to do such a thing, but maybe. But it's a Cold War situation.
Yeah. I think you hit it on the nail there, saying that it's a Cold War situation because it hasn't turned into a heated situation where they're firing rifles and firing bullets and tanks and ships and all that, but they have been using the propaganda. They've been doing a lot of sanctions against each other. China just launched a digital currency. They also, in the same process, China got rid of their gold market. They detached their gold market from the U.S. stock exchange.
Okay.
That's a huge move. And the thing is, China's been setting that up for years because China had its own gold market that they created either last year or the year before. So they've been pushing this towards kind of destroying the petrodollar.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting.
I saw this in 2008 too, when like the huge economic crisis happened here. Then I saw China, Russia too, by the way, but China far bigger, buying a lot of metals, gold, literally like iron. They were buying like all the raw resources. And another thing about China is they don't export raw resources. This never happens. Like they never export raw resources. They only export like the end products. And like I know about this is very maybe unrelated, but I know like about people building like the wooden boats in here, the wooden ships. They build them in our country. They have to buy doors and like chairs from China to get this actual wood, this type of wood. This is teak wood.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And in regards to what you said about gold, I do want to bring this up. There's actually a WikiLeaks cable that's titled "China increases its gold reserves in order to kill two birds with one stone." So the U.S. knows that this is what China has been doing. They know what they've been doing. They know that they've been buying up gold in the U.S. and around the world and increasing their own gold reserves in order to kill the world reserve petrodollar, the current world reserve petrodollar. And China actually began stockpiling gold in 2009, believe it or not. And they started stockpiling gold again in 2013. And they actually even bought J.P. Morgan's building that actually housed gold. A lot of people don't know that. So they've been kind of readying for this push to destroy the petrodollar. So what China is doing now, with releasing the digital currency and everything, they're the first country officially to release a digital currency, and it's a test run right now. It's not fully rolled out throughout China, but it's being tested by Western businesses as well that are over there in China. So they're embracing it, right?
Okay.
So all of this kind of fits together with what's going on between the U.S. and China. Now, the U.S. and China also kind of had a standoff in the Taiwan Strait and South China Sea last month, twice, where the U.S. sent its destroyer, the USS Barry, through the Taiwan Strait. It sailed twice through there, and they're doing that in essence in a way to kind of taunt China, right? They're not doing it for any any other reason but to taunt China. Okay.
Yeah, and China of course made the claim that they chased away the destroyer from their seas, and that is how they were like promoting it, right? We chased away an American ship because they were like illegally in our waters, and yeah. So they're doing their own thing again with it.
Yeah, right. And China actually, and the Moscow Russians, everybody hates Russia now, right? China and Russia actually both called in 2009 for replacing the dollar as the world reserve currency. so all of this stuff that's happening now, and I'm not saying like geopolitical moves. I'm saying more so the money moves that we see happening, where we have investments coming into Iran and in Syria and in other countries like India, right? All of those moves are to undermine the U.S. dollar.
Yeah, and they're also like live stress testing the markets. Like, what happens if the Americans declare something about China, and what happens when China or Russia declare something about the USA? Uh, this is like stress testing who has like more authority on the markets now, and like on the forex markets, right, and on the resource markets. And yeah, it's like the power is shifting, honestly. Like,
Yeah, and we actually saw the oil markets plunge under $40. They were negative $40. There's an article I read where a trader was actually excited that he could get 212 barrels of oil for a penny, and it plunged to negative $40, and then all of a sudden he's in debt for $9 million.
yeah, I've seen that too, and suddenly like it was worth nothing anymore. The oil. Wow, but this is like, but this is strange,
Yeah.
of course. I mean, this is just pure speculation. This is has all has to do with temporary media stuff. You have like this whole COVID situation, but it's all temporary. I think this is pure speculation. I mean, oil is still like, we can say like we're not driving cars right now because we're all in like a lockdown or whatever. But oil is
Right.
still used in all the production. This is just psychological. Like we use
Well,
oil
you
for so
just
many
hit
things.
Yeah, you just hit it on the nail there again. Like, the reason why oil plunged is a combination of some of the things that the Saudis and Qatar were doing, in addition to the fact that nobody is buying it. Like,
Yeah.
like nobody is going out there to fuel their cars because nobody's driving right now. We're all stuck at home. Um, and nobody's going to the gas station to fill up their cars as they normally would to drive to work. Like, so all of a sudden there's this huge hit on oil. So
Yeah, but like, like we both know, like we're also like, both you and me are like very much into conspiracy and things too, right? So how valid is it to like think that this is actually done so certain people or certain big investors can actually buy it very cheap?
well, yeah, I mean that's a possibility too, but at the same time you got to think that what's happening is everybody is dumping their stocks and dumping their stocks in oil at the same time, and that'll crash the market. So could it be deliberate? Sure, but the thing is that in general, like, if you have people all at once panic selling, right, that's going to crash the price of something, of an asset.
Yeah.
Whether it's oil, whether it's gold, whether it's crypto, it doesn't matter. It's because people were panic selling. Look at what happened with the crypto markets, how the crypto markets went from, what was it, like 10K, all of a sudden they dipped down to, I think it was like 3,000 something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wrong, but I think that's what it was. The thing is, I don't really pay too much attention to what's going on with the crypto markets, because in general, Bitcoin is going to go up in value anyway. It's written into its economic code. When
Yeah,
comes
it is
to
created
that,
for constant deflation. That's how it's created, because there is a limited amount available, and the more usage is created, the higher it's going to go up in value. So.
well, yeah, but also the other thing is that inflation rate cuts every 4 years with the halving event, which is actually going to be taking place Monday or Tuesday of next week. With the halving event for Bitcoin, right, the inflation rate is cutting from 3.8% to 1.8%. That makes Bitcoin become the most sound currency in the world. There is no currency in the world that will have a inflation rate of 1.8%, especially not within this COVID crisis. They're all printing money left and right. Like look at how much money the U.S. has printed. Like the money printer goes brr, 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 like it's absolute insanity how much money they're printing now, and they're trying to print their way out of another economic crisis. And well, let's just see what ends up happening. Things could be different because people don't know this, but the U.S. and U.S. Treasury and the Fed actually merged within all of this. So I'm not sure if the Fed no longer exists or the U.S. Treasury no longer exists, but somebody no longer exists.
So in regards to the speculation on the market, right? If you have like the gold or the oil example, like we all know that gold is used in a lot of electronic equipment, like CPUs and computers. It's used. So there's always like a difference between the financial economy and the real economy. And the real economy actually requires gold, but at this moment also oil to function. And so the speculation on the financial market the value of this stuff can only drop as low to what is actually needed in the real economy. And if it drops below that, any investor will know that they have to buy, because you have to make profit, because it is necessary to use it in the real economy, and that demand for this stuff is not going away. Not yet. It will take some years.
Depends. It depends on the asset. Depends on the business. Depends on like a whole bunch of different factors, right? But getting back on topic to the whole geopolitical thing and moving away from the stock market and money and all that.
I was saying, like, if you need stone to build houses, there is a requirement for stone, right? And you can go only as low to what the real economy needs. And then if you go, if the financial market like speculates below that, then there will be buyers, because they can only be made profit with it. So go ahead.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I see what you're saying in regards to that, but I just want to get back to the geopolitical stuff, because this is like there's so much going on right now. So we talked about Venezuela. We talked about China and the U.S. We talked a little bit about Qatar, but I knew about the information. I don't know really too much about Qatar. I apologize, but I don't. Now, what we need to get into is Russia and the U.S., because there's been a lot of moves happening there, and also NATO and their drills that they've been running all throughout May. That we kind of just stumbled on ourselves, and we didn't really know too much about until we looked into them. I remember off the show we were talking about it a little bit. So yeah, let's kind of jump into that and Defender 2020 or Defend 2020.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because there is a kind of a push to shift Belarus into becoming a NATO member. I don't know if you know that or not.
Yeah, of course, they're trying to like encapsulate Russia, of course, and so they're trying to like convert former Soviet countries to more European.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and they've been really trying to make this push recently. And with the whole NATO mission that was kind of going on, we saw them doing drills very, very close to Russia's border. It's not a theory; it's a fact that they were doing drills right next to Russia's border, trying to intimidate Russia, and that's not
No.
really good that they're doing that, because things could break out into a war between Russia and the NATO countries, including the U.S.
Yeah, so we should actually mention that we were like tipped off on this, like by like a Belgian anon, and he said like a person he knew in his street, he was like a veteran, an Air Force veteran, was suddenly called in. He was actually a paratrooper, and he was suddenly called in for like a huge drill, and it was called Defender 2020. And it is like a huge invasion kind of drill on the European soil by the US and NATO partners. And I think it involved like, what did we see, like 20,000 or 40,000 troops, right? I think it was, we have it in the server, but I think it was 20,000.
It was like 20,000. It was between 20,000 and 40,000 troops. But also, after you kind of told me that information, I started digging into it a little bit more, and I found that kind of like there's a lot of media that's asking, is Belarus going to be the next Ukraine? And when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, that's right there where they're doing the drills, like right around that area. It's surrounding Belarus.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a coincidence at all. And besides all of that going on, the drills and everything, Russia just buzzed a U.S. fighter jet that was flying over the Pacific. I believe that's where they did it. I believe it was in the Pacific, towards the Pacific Ocean. Don't quote me on that 100%, but basically Russia flew by a plane, dangerously close to a plane. You know, they do this all the time. They've done it in the Arctic mostly, and what they do is they fly near a craft for a period of time and just kind of buzz over it. And you know, nothing has come out of those events thus far. But you know, it could be an accident anytime, and if that does happen, that is technically a act of war. So I mean, it's really getting interesting, and it's getting to the point where things are accelerating between the U.S. and Russia and China, and I mean, with everything that's happened this year now, I mean, everything's unpredictable. That's the way I feel about it. There's so much going on now. It's 2020. You know, anything can fucking happen.
Yeah. So about the Belarus, we actually here in Europe we actually call it White Russia, which is like an old name.
Okay.
Yeah, almost like 10% of the population are Russians in that country. They only are like independent since I think 1989 or 1990, and like 10 years later they already signed like a union contract with Russia for like super close collaboration with each other. And that's of course done because there is like a huge ethnic Russian population in the area, and they of course like lobbied to make like super close relations again. So for NATO to get like involved in a country like that again, just like in the Ukraine, it eventually it will probably cause another like move by the Russian army into the area. Like, you know about like how guerrilla wars work, and if you have like 10% of the population being ethnic Russian, you like you can conquer a country, like you can like temporarily conquer a country, like the U.S. did in Iraq, for example. But then you see like more and more of these, yeah, these guerrilla attacks, and it will like cost you so much money and cost you so much many soldiers, and it will cost so many human lives that it is like a very expensive occupation if you do something like that. So it is almost impossible. Yeah, it is a relatively small country. Don't expect 10 million people, but it is. It's expensive to do such a thing. But these moves are like clearly to like intimidate and show like that they have the capability to act if they want, to quickly move like huge amounts of troops around. So
with the drills, yeah, the drills are kind of like preparation drills. It's meant to kind of show that, in essence, it's like a dick measuring contest. You know, they're basically saying like our military is stronger than your military. And last year, the Russians and Chinese actually did their own drill. And it was the largest military drill in a long time. I forget where they did it, but I think it was on the Chinese border, I believe. But yeah, they did a large drill with basically the same thing that they're doing now, that NATO's doing, and they kind of go tit for tat. Like, you know, they've been doing this for years. Basically saying that, you know, we're prepared if NATO countries act, and NATO's saying we're prepared if Russia acts. But the geopolitical situation is very interesting, to say the least. And
yeah, to be fair, the United States and China also hold drills together. So you wouldn't expect it, because even if they're like in huge trade wars and they have like tensions, they also still do drills together. Just saying.
When was the last drill that they did together?
Let's see. That was December last year, so that's a few months ago, but was already during the whole trade war thing. So.
Oh, was it the military games that was held in Wuhan? Is that what you're referring to?
Let me see. It is the People's Liberation Army (PLA) Eastern Theater Command and the U.S. Army Pacific, and they did a human rescue and disaster relief exercise in Hawaii.
Okay.
Yeah, so they do that still. This is like not really a military like aggressive drill, but more like disaster relief. And
yeah, they still do disaster relief drills and stuff like that. And I don't think that that's really military related, is it?
Well, yeah, it shows a lot of military uniforms, but it makes sense that because they're like the most powerful armies that they actually do keep up with that. Disaster relief is still a lot more important than waging war. So.
Oh well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, but you know, the elitist, they wouldn't think that.
No, that's true.
The elitist in both countries, you know, they profit off of war. That's why they want war. You know, they invest into these big military industrial complex companies, whether it's BE Systems here in the U.S. or some Chinese company over there in China, or Lockheed Martin here in the U.S. or some other company there in China. You know, like China has a lot of military industrial complex companies. You just don't hear about them much because most people just care about the U.S.'s military companies, such as Lockheed Martin and all them. So.
Yeah, the thing is, like, you also need reasons to justify like a huge army, and it can't be just waging war. So all these materials, if you want to justify it to your people, you're going to have to do these whole disaster relief and rescue operations too. It's like propaganda. You have to like show it. Like our army is used for this. Like we need a huge army. We need our thousands and thousands of helicopters because they can carry people away, right? And we need these military ships to carry people. Well, actually, they could also be used to like invade shores. But yeah.
Yeah. And kind of going back to the training the drills and everything, there was actually Royal Marines that were training in Belarus. That's another thing that kind of makes me think something might go down here in Belarus within the next couple months. It kind of seems like they are pushing for that. And they don't really care, like with what happened with the Ukraine, right? We saw the leaked conversations that came out of the coup in Ukraine and how that coup connected back to the U.S. and the CIA and everything, even though they kind of try to push that under the rug. We saw with it was the State Department. What was her name? It was Victoria Nuland. We saw her leaked conversation where she said, "Fuck the EU." So they were discussing kind of overthrowing the Ukrainian government, and they say, "Are we go? Are we good?" And then somebody cuts in and says, "We're waiting on the EU," and then she says, "Fuck the EU," So we see that their kind of mindset when these conversations leak, and I know that leak was kind of partially blamed on Russia, but it doesn't matter where it came from if it's legitimate information, if it's not like propagandized information, if it's a legit phone call being leaked and that's not edited, right? Does it matter like where the leak came from?
No, it doesn't. No, if the truth is the truth, right? I mean, it doesn't change anything.
Yeah. And in regards to Ukraine, there was a Poland president or Poland. It might not have been a Poland president. It might have been a Poland leader within Parliament or whatever over there in Europe. I don't know the terms over there in Europe. But anyway, he said that the CIA was involved in the Ukrainian coup, and he said that basically that the CIA shot at both protesters and police during that whole entire incident. So, they don't care how many people they hurt or injure or kill. They just care about the end result of causing regime change or any type of political goal that they have in a country.
Yeah, and we all know about like the secret CIA prisons. They're like all over Europe too, and actually it's weird that the CIA is like even allowed to do this. You're talking about so-called sovereign countries, right? And why would the CIA even be involved in like European countries? They're perfectly able to handle themselves. Like,
oh yeah, they could run their own black prisons if they wanted.
Yeah,
they outsource it to the CIA.
It's like these cheap asses. They just outsource it because they don't want to pay for it or whatever. They let the CIA do all this weird torture stuff. At least have it done by some kind of weird ass crazy old German. I don't know. It is. I'm not supposed to say that. It's just.
Well, we saw the leaks out of WikiLeaks with Vault 7 and Vault 8, where the CIA was working hand in hand with the German intelligence, and we also saw that with Edward Snowden's leaks. So I mean, they all kind of work together. And Edward Snowden's leaks wasn't the CIA; it was the NSA. Mm-hmm. So we saw that the NSA was working in hand with other countries, mostly the Five Eyes countries.
Yeah, and signal intelligence, SIGINT, uh, so-called Echelon project, right? It's like SIGINT has to do with that, and they're tapping. It's mostly like wireless signals from the sky because, like in Europe, since the Stasi in Eastern Germany was like, yeah, like destroyed, right? We have like strong. We always had like strong privacy laws for wired telephone lines. And the internet, as long as it is wired, there are some privacy laws in Europe, but these privacy laws were never created for wireless transmissions. So what signal intelligence does is just literally tap these signals from the sky, and they can do whatever they want with it. That's probably why they love mobile phones and stuff so much too, because they can just tap everything. You have no protection, zero protection. So signal intelligence works with France, UK. I know officially it doesn't exist in my country, the Netherlands, but I have seen these tapping stations myself, and I've made pictures of them, and I know they do it. And
oh yeah, they can say that it doesn't fucking exist, but unless it's in fucking some third world country in Africa, right? You know that they have the capabilities to be able to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I use Africa as an example because a lot of these African countries do not have that level of advanced technology to pull off a tapping of communications.
No,
So,
exactly. And
there's other countries as well, but
I think it was actually Stratfor that was doing it in here. So because I've been to this place, and it's like hidden in this whole rural area in between all these farms, and you see like 4 or 5 farms surrounding it, and they all have these huge windmills, right? And you already can see like these windmills are not just to power this specific farm, and then they're surrounding this whole area with these farms, and then there's like one little access road, and you have to like travel this road, and at the start of the access road there's like this this billboard thing, and it gives these logos of Stratfor and some other things, and it's very super heavy security, because you have to travel this little road, and then you have like fences, and then a second fence, and all these things, and
yeah, so it's not like a normal like windmill.
no, not at all. These windmills surrounding it are just used to power the actual thing, so they can operate independently from the electricity network. So, yeah.
I don't think it's really. I think it's more so not just operating without electricity. I think more so it's so they don't have to. They can kind of hide it a little bit more.
Yeah, and if you think from like from an intelligence perspective, perhaps by calculating the amount of electricity used, the Dutch government or the other parties can actually also calculate how many dishes are used, how many computers are used, right? And such a secret location might not want to expose even that fact.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was thinking too, in regards to what you just said. Yeah,
So, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, like they're so these people are so, yeah, I want to say like paranoid, but they're so thorough in their hiding their specifications that they will take care of that part too. So yeah, but also if it's connected to like the public electricity net, there will perhaps be employees of the public electricity net also visiting such buildings, and maybe they don't like that either. So
yeah, actually, just got news that 8chan is getting raided.
you mean
How about that?
You mean 8kun or?
Yeah, 8kun. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Code Monkey Z posted on Twitter that 8kun is getting raided.
That's funny, aren't they usually doing the raids?
Well, typically, right? Like 4chan, 8chan raids and everything. But I think that this is a federal raid. I don't know for
Oh,
what.
oh, so it's not like a troll raid, like mass posting crazy
No, no,
messages.
no.
Oh, oh, that's weird.
Oh wait, no. I made a mistake. Apparently, yeah, it is. It's thousands and thousands of images are getting uploaded to their servers.
Okay, that's epic.
I'm pretty sure that that's the op QAnons doing that. Just
Yeah.
putting it out. If that whole Q thing is still going on over there, yeah, that's probably them doing that.
I see them replying. Every time bad news for the deep state comes out, there's a coordinated attack on 8kun.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, Code Monkeys, I see it now. There's an ongoing raid.
Yeah.
I've been deleting stuff for the past few hours.
yeah. I thought it was a federal raid, but then I was like, well, that doesn't make sense for him to say that he's deleting stuff. I mean, that's literally you're putting yourself
Yeah.
obstruction of justice.
But it's actually not so wise to even post about this, because like even if it's not like the op Q and it's like they will read this and they will join the raid.
Oh
Someone posts
yeah,
Habbo Hotel.
yeah. It's funny. They're getting raided right now, and it's not even. I thought it was a federal raid. It's not. Because you remember that he was forced to go testify, or not Code Monkey, but the other guy,
Watkins.
the other owner. Yeah, he was forced to go testify in front of Congress
Yeah.
about the thing, which is hilarious. I mean, if you want comedy, go listen to that. It was hilarious.
It's weird. But like he actually lived like in the Philippines, right? And I found it already weird that he would actually just go there and testify. Like, didn't you go to the Philippines for a reason? You could have just stayed in the U.S. then. Like,
Well, the
ah.
Philippines has jurisdiction to extradite somebody, so it's easier for him to just go and testify when he's called than try to go on the run and then be extradited. Like there's not a lot of countries where you can't get extradited if you're in trouble in the U.S. The U.S. has jurisdiction over like almost every country, except for
Yeah,
the exception of like Russia and I think
Germany.
Brazil.
If you are a German citizen, then Germany will never extradite you. But you have to be a German citizen. If
Yeah,
not,
see,
that takes you 8 years perhaps to become one. But yeah,
yeah, so you can't get in trouble in the U.S. and then move to Germany and say, I'm over here, you can't get me." You can do that with Russia,
yeah. Well, let's say you are like a political dissident and you speak out against the U.S. government. I think you could actually go to a German embassy and ask for political asylum. And I was even considering it with like the Assange case. I always thought like, why didn't you apply
Yeah.
for asylum there? Like Germany probably would have accepted you. But yeah, I
I
don't know.
think, didn't they recently say that they would? The German politicians, that they have like a whole thing.
That is actually Switzerland, but
Oh, I
close
thought it was
enough.
Germany.
Um, no, yes, that's because it's Zurich, which is actually a German name. Zurich is one of the I think is the capital of Switzerland, and then was Geneva actually also offered him. They offered him a medical asylum for I think 6 months, and there were also politicians. They requested for him to get political asylum too, like a forever asylum.
Yeah,
Switzerland is kind of like a different country than we are used to. Switzerland has like a direct democracy, meaning it's bottom up. So they don't have like a big centralized government at the top. They actually have like you vote on something in some area, and then when your vote wins, it goes to other areas and they start voting on it too. So that's kind of how it works. So it's very different. It's like not like the government at the top decides what to vote on or whatever. It's like it goes from the bottom up. So yeah.
Okay, so I found the information on what I was talking about. Pascal Meiser, who was a Bundestag Die Link member.
Bundestag, that is the German Bundestag. That is the German parliament.
Okay. Well, he called for the German leadership to give asylum to Assange last year.
Okay, but what party was he a member of? Like maybe Green Party or Pirates?
The Bundestag.
Okay, and it doesn't say like what's kind of like specific political party or.
Die Link?
Oh, Die Linke, yeah. It's a left-wing party.
Okay, so that's what it is. Okay. Yeah, so apparently he called for asylum for Assange last year. And then on top of that, there was some... What was it? Let me find out the exact number. 17 members of the German parliamentary group actually called to nominate Chelsea Manning, Edward Snowden, and Assange for the Nobel Peace Prize of 2020. So I think that's very interesting. And also, on top of that, there was over 130 prominent figures in Germany in art, politics, and the media that signed an appeal for the release of Julian Assange. And in that list of people, it actually included the former German Vice Chancellor Sigmar Gabriel and Nobel Prize winner Alfred Jelinek.
Okay.
So the Germans have been kind of giving Assange a lot of wins. So we could see Assange getting some type of asylum deal in Germany.
Yeah, to be fair, Die Linke is not like a super big party. They do hold about like 10% of the Bundestag. But they're not alone in that, because the Green Party are historically also in favor of Assange, and then we have the Pirates, of course. They're also in there, and there are some other groups also in favor of Assange. So certainly there is some support there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Germany is big. There's like a lot of political parties, but. You know what we have been dealing with, right? With this whole Stop Act Tattoo thing. The ruling party are not very friendly.
Doesn't matter. I mean, the whole thing with Axel Foss?
Yeah, Axel Foss.
Yeah, that guy, that asshole.
Yeah.
Where he said that basically, you vote for this bill or otherwise, your political career is going to get ruined. It's like, that's a fucking threat. Like, where, how is that not a threat? Like,
yeah.
That should be seen as a political threat. He should be immediately removed for that. But what is he head of again?
Well, yeah, he is like a high-ranking member of the CDU-CSU, which is like the ruling party in Germany. Like the leader is of course Angela Merkel, and yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Axel Voss represents that political party in the European Parliament, and that political party is actually like an alliance with similar thinking parties in other countries, and they are. Well, we consider them the conservatives in the European Parliament, so to speak. You can compare them to the Conservative Party in the Republican Party in the United States, but then the conservative branch of the Republican Party, so to speak.
Well, that's very interesting because here in the U.S., we only have the Democrats and the Republicans, and then we have the Green Party and the Libertarians.
Yeah, but you
But
certainly have like a libertarian branch too in the Republican Party. For example, people like Ron Paul.
that's true. That is true. But it's more difficult than that because if you are running as a Libertarian or Green Party candidate, you don't get to go on the debate stage for being president. And also when you're running as a local candidate, there's a lot of other caveats that you don't get that if you are with the Democrats or the Republicans that you would get.
Okay.
So I mean, it's ridiculous here in the U.S. It's just like it's a two-party system, and it's very obvious that it's a two-party system. And the fact is that not to go into the U.S. politics and everything because I know everybody hates that, but the thing is, it's really a joke. It's like the leadership, the elected leadership, chooses your candidates. It's through the Electoral College, right? That they choose the president. Okay, so the DNC and the RNC leadership choose who you get to vote for. Okay, and then your Electoral College or electoral kind of delegates, right? They choose who your president is going to be. It's not it's not the people's vote that chooses it, as they kind of try to push, right? It's actually the delegates that are chosen delegates that decide a president. So it's just it's an illusion. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, let me tell you real quick about how the European illusion works, and that is, you have like here you have like 30 political parties competing to get into a government. There are like 60 parties total, I think, but out of those, like 30 are competing because they're like large enough. But you have 3 middle parties, and they're always huge. And then you have like the super left wing, and then it goes back to super right wing, and then in the middle you have 3 big parties. And so you have these extreme parties, so to speak. They make these ideas and stuff, and that's actually both sides are super populist, and they are looking at what do the people actually want. And then these middle parties will embed as many of these ideas into their own campaign, and they will always take like the huge majority of the votes. That is like pretty much how it works. They just steal the ideas from the small parties, make it part of their own strategy, and that is and everyone is used to voting on these super big middle parties. You have the Labour Party, is like a little left from the center, and you have then the middle party, which are like the Christian party, which is like the CDU, CSU with Merkel, and you have here it's like VVD. It's like a little right to the middle, and they are pretty much divide the votes because everyone is used to them being in government, and they know everything will be the same, right? So it's the safe vote, and that's pretty much how it works.
Yeah, that's fucking insane.
So we're dealing with the same thing here. We got like a 2 or 3 party system too.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I didn't because when you said there was more parties, I thought, okay, well, maybe things are a little fixed over there than as opposed to how they are here. But no, I see exactly what you're saying.
Same story in the UK, by the way. You also just hear about Jeremy Corbyn, Labour Party, right, and Boris Johnson, right wing party. They're like in the middle, but there are a lot of different parties. But that they of course they do get a few seats and stuff, but they are never big enough to be in government. They can vote on things, and if they like work together with 6 or 7 different political parties, they can win certain votes, but certain debates. But they usually don't form a government. Sometimes they are asked to join a government, like let's say like 2 out of the 3 middle parties win, but they don't have like a majority on their own. They will add like a tiny party with them, and they form a majority. So
yeah, that's crazy. That's fucking nuts.
yeah,
It's crazy to see how like multiple countries, Western countries, are the same when it comes to political system.
hmm
But yeah,
they're the same main blocks. They're always the same main blocks. It's always the same thing.
Yeah, I had no idea. Honestly, I thought it was a little bit different.
Well, technically, it is different. Technically, like if everyone would vote for like a super left-wing party, they would get in power, but it just doesn't happen. People in majority always vote for like one of the middle parties, and yeah, it's like the same story as in the U.S. that they have all the media power, and they have their history, and just how it is. And then you have also the fact that they are already in all these different local governments, and they are like campaigning so hard for everything. So, yeah. Like they're already everywhere.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Well, technically it is possible. I mean, they're all equally competing, to be honest. I mean, you get like you can insert what you vote for, and you can choose from like the 30 different parties. So they're all on the ballot. So.
But do the okay? So there's super delegates here in the U.S., right? They are who decides ultimately the president. Okay. Is that similar? Is there a similar system there, like super delegates?
No, we don't have that. We have 3 different things. We have like national elections, we have provincial elections, and we have like local elections.
Yeah. See, so the super delegates, that's like the most rigged part of the U.S. election system, is the super delegates. Because it's like it doesn't matter if your vote, okay, so for instance, right, the mainstream media says that without the super delegates, Hillary Clinton would have won the election. Now, I am not, and let me just make it clear, I am not saying I wanted Hillary to win the election. And I'm not saying that Trump is good either. But the thing is, it's the superdelegate system that's put in place in the U.S. here that is a major problem when it comes to fairness and equality in voting. It's just another kind of kink in the system that exposes how corrupt things are in essence, where it's for the elites. It's not for the people.
Yeah, and I did actually see that with the end results. Hillary Clinton did have a few million more votes. Like the popular vote was in favor of Hillary Clinton.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, come on. A lot of those votes were people that were dead. So does it count?
Yeah, that's also a problem. That's like, how is that even possible? But so technically, that's what I heard about it. It's possible to like you vote in one state and then you can just travel to the other state and you can vote again. Is that how it works, or?
Okay, so that's illegal to do.
Yeah, but I've heard about that story. Like they said, like this how he got the votes.
But the Project Veritas, they had a video that came out where they were busing in people to vote from different counties and different states, from one state to another, or from one county to another, and voting in I think it was the primary. It wasn't the general election, it was the primary. So the primary would be choosing the candidates, right? Um,
Yeah,
and basically, Project Veritas kind of exposed what the DNC was doing. Now, obviously, they probably do the same shit on the RNC side, but
of course, of course.
we don't have that evidence to show it, right? But they probably do because it's the same fucking. It's an easy tactic to do. All they do is bust in people and tell them to vote. So it's all a corrupt system here in the U.S. It's so corrupted to the point where we really need like a new voting system and kind of redesign things. But yeah, it's just a waste of time, in my opinion. And yeah, I think it's kind of proven by the 2016 stuff that WikiLeaks revealed, with the DNC being or I'm sorry, not unbiased. They're supposed to be unbiased, but they were biased. They were biased towards Hillary Clinton and against Sanders and all of that. But then again, like this time around, right? You would think Bernie Sanders would have like the balls to say something about the rigging that was going on against him this time, and he didn't. So I mean, he's just a controlled opposition candidate at this point. I mean,
Yeah, it's sad actually, because I do know he had a lot of grassroots support. People actually believed the
yeah,
stuff he was saying, and it's very sad.
yeah. But the thing is, they weren't going. They even said they were going to change the rule. Like literally, there's a quote where it says that they were going to change the rules just so Bernie doesn't win. What? Like you're going to change the rules? It's
Yeah,
fucking insane what these people do and say.
yeah, and you also got this totally different vision of how economics works in like between like the USA and other areas of the world. Like people call Bernie Sanders a communist, for example, but in most areas, including in here, he would be like categorized as maybe left from the center, a little left from the center, maybe.
Yeah,
Not
they call him
too.
a communist and socialist, and yeah,
He's not so
right.
communist at all. I mean, compared to others, maybe compared to other candidates, but yeah, yeah, he was openly saying that, well, he was democratic socialist, but most of the things he said were not so super lefty, to be honest. But yeah, uh, I mean, free education is pretty common in many areas in Europe, especially like in Scandinavia. It is free, and countries like Belgium is free. Healthcare is free in many of these areas too. So yeah, they're pretty much used to that already.
Well, speaking of kind of new governments, Iraq actually now has a new cabinet and ministry. Now, for the longest time, nearly 6 months, they haven't had a functioning government in parliament because of there was a resignation of two prime ministers, um, and or no, I'm sorry, no, one prime minister resigned, and then two prime ministers who were designated to take over the role actually withdrew their nominations before a vote. So Iraq now has a functioning government again. So that's interesting news.
Yeah. Like the Iraq situation is like always difficult, right? Then suddenly you have attacks against American bases again out of nowhere, and then suddenly everything stops again, and there's like a functioning government again. And
Well, it was the attacks against American bases that was from kind of like rogue groups in the region. I mean, and they blamed it on Iran, but I mean, more than likely it wasn't Iran. I mean, It was more likely just a rogue group connected potentially like to ISIS or um, another group within the region. I mean, there's several quote unquote terror groups within Syria and Iraq in general. So I mean, and they all hold different regions of the country. So
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens. You invade a country, you destabilize the government, and then you leave again, and you have like local groups fighting for power.
right, yeah, exactly, and that's like when you don't have a actual leader who can lead those groups. Like, take for instance what they did with Libya and Gaddafi, right?
Hmm.
What happened after they assassinated Gaddafi? It
Yeah,
turned into chaos with all of these various groups trying to control the region.
yeah, and who
That's
benefits from it, from chaos? You cause only like a small elite benefits from it, because resources will become yeah very pricey for normal people, but very cheap for them, because yeah, there isn't anyone to bargain with them, and you can just take everything. You just literally took away the government.
yeah, that's true too. Sure. There was also I don't know if you heard or not. There was a fire today at a Russian hospital that is treating COVID patients.
Okay.
Major fire. The hospital was on fire from what they said, because they said the cause was a oxygen cylinder that exploded in the intensive care unit, which is just like, oh fuck, like, yeah, that can happen, but
I'm not sure if we should go into the COVID thing again. Maybe we should for a second. I was talking with a friend. Like, it was like very nice weather today, so it was like going outside, and we were like talking about the COVID pandemic, and he didn't really believe the
right,
whole story. But yeah, now we see like the whole numbers drop and drop lower. And then there's a story like after the summer it might get a lot worse. That's pretty much what people are afraid of.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. There's actually some good news that I got for that. One second, trying to find it. Um, oh. Where is it? Okay. I think this is it. Hong Kong researchers find 3 drug combination that safely suppresses SARS-CoV-2. There's a combination of 3 drugs. They said that the combination of 3 drugs suppressed coronavirus within 7 days when used on patients in Hong Kong. Nearly twice as fast as one of the single medicines seen as a leading hope in the fight. The research was actually published in The Lancet, which is a medical journal. It's a very famous medical journal, peer-reviewed.
mhm.
They said that the 3 drugs that they combined were antiviral drugs: interferon beta 1b, lopinavir, ritonavir, and Vurin.
Yeah, but I told you about the lopinavir thing. It causes these heart problems, right? Because we
Yeah.
discussed this before. That we see in the whole list of deaths, we see like the number one amount of deaths is like people who have another illness, and that is in this case like cardiovascular illnesses. And that whole lopinavir thing seems to cause also some problems with your heart. And we were discussing this before, that the suggestion that the medicine might actually not be a good idea to use on these people. The ribavirin I'm reading, I've never seen it before. But the other two, lopinavir and ritonavir, I've seen before because they are also anti-HIV medicines.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the interesting thing that I noticed too, is that two of these are HIV medicine.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And there's also a report that just came out where it says that the London-based NBC News reports that there was no cell phone activity in any high-security portion of the Wuhan Institute of Virology from October 7th through October 24th, 2019, and there may have been a hazardous event sometime between October 6th and October 11th. So now they're coming out with this information that we already knew. I said that before there was a South Chinese scientist report where they said that there was a incident in October where there was bat urine and bat blood that got on workers within that period of time. So now we have kind of corroboration here with this evidence. So I think it's kind of obvious that it was a accidental leak. I don't think it would be deliberate. I don't think anybody would be that fucking stupid. Especially not if the elites don't have a cure for it, right?
Yeah, true. Did you read that part about the French hospital? I posted it today, actually. It's from a journalist, Ayit Singh, and so he says a French hospital says they have evidence of COVID-19 cases in France dated back to as early as November 16. This is prior to the first identified COVID-19 case in China. This is a French hospital that claims it.
Yeah, I did see that. I saw that, and I saw there was a report. Where was it? Sweden or Switzerland? One of the two. Where they said they had cases in November as well, in November or December, before China, right? The thing is, though, if there was a lab accident that happened there, we don't know what the real the real first case was in China, especially since they won't give us patient zero. They won't tell us who patient zero is. It's the fact that China is covering up all this information in regards to this virus that makes them look like a culprit. It's like, if you don't have anything to hide, why not be transparent about it?
No, true. Yeah, no, you should actually mention all these things, right? And it just shows like so much reliability to the international media, to all the people. Like, it makes you look very good.
It makes them look very, very guilty. It's like, why China was telling their scientists not to publish the genome of this. They were ordering them not to publish the genome of this, not to talk about this virus. They were destroying documents, all types of other stuff. I mean, and then on top of that, right, they send a military general in February to take over the Wuhan lab. who's the military general, their profession is literally biosecurity. So I mean, like, if something didn't happen there, why all of this stuff? That's the way I feel about it. That's my view on it, because it's like I really don't want to side with the U.S. intelligence community on this, because I never want to side with the U.S. intelligence. It's always a bad idea, It's like, they said they lied to us multiple times in Iraq. They lied to us about Syria, saying that the chemical weapons attacks were from Assad, and there's now proof coming out from the Duma investigation where they're saying that it wasn't Assad, that it was actually rebels in the area.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's like with stuff like that, why would I want to side with the U.S. intelligence community?
Yeah, no, but there's a big difference, right? I mean, of course, the U.S. intelligence agency is going to use certain facts in their own advantage, but it doesn't mean that the facts are always wrong. Like, they're just using it too. What else are they going to do? They want to use it, right? It's like, yeah.
Well, typically what they do is they spin shit, and they, like, for instance, like with Syria, right? They say that they said that was Assad gassing his own people, and the thing is, the rebels also had chemical weapons as well, so they could have done it. And in the case of this, with Duma and the Duma investigation and all that, Duma leaks that are coming out, and have been coming out for like the past like couple years, right? People don't realize that the Duma leaks have been coming out for the past couple of years. We knew that that the Duma investigation was bullshit, because there was whistleblowers and leaks coming out of it the whole entire time. And
Yeah, okay, for listeners, the Duma was like a so-called chemical warfare attack was carried out on this city called Duma in Syria.
Yeah, right. And we knew that was bullshit, like, because it doesn't make sense. Why would Assad gas his own people when he was giving evidence of the rebels gassing people, like, right before, like, why would he do that? He just gave evidence to the international community about the rebels gassing people, so why would he gas his own people then? It doesn't make sense.
No.
It never did.
No, it's very difficult. No, you're right. He wouldn't. It's just very harmful to their own government. They want to actually appear to be like saving the country, saving all the people against like foreign powers, and to actually release like gas on their own people has such negative connotations.
It's not only that though; it's the fact that, like I said, he gave evidence that the rebels were the ones gassing people, and then there was an attack.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually the timeline of everything that happened. Like, I have the cited evidence for this. Like, and it doesn't make sense. It never did. Why would he gas his own people after he just handed evidence a few months prior to the international community saying that, the rebels were gassing civilians? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and if people want to read more about this, WikiLeaks actually covers this. So wikileaks.org/OPCW, and then it's Duma. If you search for WikiLeaks on DuckDuckGo, just WikiLeaks and then Duma. That is DOUMA, and then you will find these files. WikiLeaks is like posting a lot of it, and it is all super recent.
Yeah, and I really like how you said DuckDuckGo and not Google.
I wanted to say Google, but I shouldn't, really.
Oh, no, you don't want to say Google. No, we want to get away from Google. We either want to use DuckDuckGo or Presearch, because, Presearch is a good replacement for Google it. Presearch it. rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
But and you also get rewarded crypto for using pre-search, so why not? Um, but yeah, it's very interesting. The information that's coming out of the Duma leaks, and it's not a lot of people are covering it. It's kind of under the radar.
Which is sad, actually. Like you said, it has been going on because, like, I see here from October last year, it goes to November, December again, and then, like, literally on the 27th of December again, part 4. This is on just WikiLeaks, right? And so it's been going on for months and months, and no one's really covering it. We're all covering Free Assange, of course, but it would be wise to also cover more of this.
Yeah.
So that is the Duma leaks, DOUMA, spacebar WikiLeaks.
Yeah, it's also not all just coming out of WikiLeaks either. I mean, these leaks have been coming out for the past year, or maybe longer. I honestly think, I want to say that this has been going on for a year or a year and a half. And it really has gotten very little coverage, especially in the international press and Western press, especially. So,
yeah, I'm reading through it real quick. So I'm sorry if I'm not replying enough. I'm looking for some specific quotes. Well, one of the things that they do say is that so there's one email from Sebastian Braha. He's the chief of the cabinet at the OPCW, and he instructs that an engineering report from a guy named Ian Henderson should be removed from the secure registry of the organization. He literally says, please get this document out of DRA, and please remove all traces, if any, of its delivery, storage, whatever in DRA. And the main finding of Henderson, who inspected the sites in Duma, and 2 cylinders that were found on the site of the alleged chemical attack, was that they were more likely manually placed there than dropped from a plane or helicopter from considerable heights.
right. Yeah, and I actually, when that attack happened, I actually said it looked like they were placed there myself, like because of where the cylinders were. If they were dropped from a plane, it would have caused more damage inside. It wouldn't have been where they landed, number one, and it wouldn't have. One of the cylinders was on a bed, like next to a bed, right? If it would have dropped from a plane, okay, that bed would have been fucking destroyed.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then there was another thing, and that is they investigated 3 toxicologists, clinical pharmacologists. They investigated if the symptoms observed in victims were consistent with exposure to chlorine or other reactive chlorine gas. And then the OPCW also asked again to remove a message from the meeting. That is that the symptoms observed were inconsistent with exposure to chlorine, and no other obvious candidate chemical causing the symptoms could be identified. So yeah, so the mainstream story was, I think, if I'm correct, that like the Assad government dropped like chlorine gas on these people from the sky, right?
Yeah.
And then you have this investigation, and it says like one, likely it's just manually placed on the ground and not dropped from the sky, and second, We don't see any symptoms of chlorine gas poisoning exposure. So there's
Yeah.
like two aspects already wrong of that mainstream story.
We do know that there was a leaked video of Free Syrian Army, or FSA, gassing their own people. And they did it kind of as a move. We do know that because there was a leaked video that was posted online a few years ago.
And the Free Syrian Army, that is, if I'm correct, that is the rebel group sponsored by the Turkey, I think.
Not only Turkey, the U.S.
Oh yeah, I see it now. Arms deliveries from U.S., Turkey, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and others.
Yeah. Right, UK, yeah.
U.S., Turkey, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and others. What that is, but so yeah, that's pretty much like the NATO and Saudi Arabia alliance.
Yeah, right. So we know, we
UK.
know that also that the white helmets were doing dangerous procedures. They said that they were doing medical procedures, but there was doctors who watched their videos and said that what they're doing can kill somebody. So they weren't doing proper medical procedures and all types of other stuff when it comes to white helmets and the Free Syrian Army.
Yeah. So this is weird. This is like there's so much going on in Syria that they're just literally like you don't know who to trust anymore. Like I know, like obviously, like Assad is not a good guy either, and the Russians are not good people either. But like the Americans and NATO are involved in taking down an independent government again. And you have that whole timber.
And also, there's so many rogue groups in Syria. It's like you can't trust the information that comes out of the Middle East and Syria. You can't, because it can be like when an attack happens, right? It could be any of those rebel groups that are over there.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, could it be Assad too? Yeah, probably it could, but the thing is, those rebel groups also have chemical weapons. They got a hold of chemical weapons from Iraq, and it's basically ISIS over there in Syria. I mean, like there's other terror groups as well that aren't ISIS and don't align with ISIS. ISIS is actually the strongest. It's seen as the strongest terror group and the most ruthless. And a lot of the groups over there don't like them either. Like, they don't align with their ideology. It's too extreme, right? But, Syria, it has so many groups over there. You just can't trust information that comes out.
Yeah, the only thing you know is like who will benefit in the end, and if it's going to be the same as in Iraq or in Libya, the people are not going to benefit from it. They're going to be even in a worse situation.
Yeah, well, you think about it. It's like if you overthrow Assad, who's going to replace Assad?
Yeah, and there are no powerful people in the area except for Russia, Iran, United States, Saudi Arabia, and like this whole big ISIS thing, right? And and who's going to deliver a new leader of this country? Is it either going to be a puppet president of one of the big geopolitical powers, or it's going to be ISIS again, or another hardcore group.
Well, that's the point. It's like if you overthrow, and actually that's a good point too, because completely forgot about that. I wanted to talk about that. Um, Russia, China, or no, I'm sorry, not Russia, China. Russia, Iran, and Turkey agreed to remove Assad very recently. So I don't know what that means. Like, are they going to all of a sudden just invade Syria? And well, they're already over there, right? But
Hmm.
I don't like. What does that mean? Are they going to militarily remove Assad? Because I don't think the U.S. is going to like that. Like, like that's another geopolitical move that I wanted to discuss.
Yeah, you can make a theory that maybe Assad made a deal with a country like Russia because maybe he is also scared of his life, right? The Americans don't want him there. Then there's always a risk of being assassinated, and if he makes like a deal with like Russia, that he can get like asylum in a country like that, and they will just replace him politically in the area. That is possible too. I mean,
Yeah, that is highly possible too. But I don't know the full details on any of this. But I just know that um, Iran, Turkey, and Russia agreed to remove Assad from Syria. Now, again, who are you going to replace Assad with in Syria? Who is a perfect candidate to replace Assad? Because the people of Syria, a lot of the people in Syria actually do like Assad. And you could see that by actually looking up videos of Syrian people praising Assad. He is a highly liked person within Syria. People like him. And he is the only one kind of keeping things from spiraling out of control in Syria with these other groups. So it's the same story again, over and over, from when the U.S. invaded Iraq. They destabilized Iraq, turned it into a shithole. It's the same thing with Libya. Destabilized Libya, assassinated Gaddafi. In Iraq they assassinated Saddam. It's the same thing over and over again. Yeah, it's just go into a country, get rid of its leader, and replace the leader. But the thing is, what if the next leader is worse?
yeah, oh, true.
So yeah, it's a very interesting situation that they are trying to spur, and it's questionable what the outcome is actually going to be, whether it's going to be positive or negative. I mean, and it looks like whatever is going to happen because Russia, Iran, and Turkey agreed to remove Assad. So it's no longer if it's going to happen; it's a when.
Yeah. Yeah, I know if they did that, then it's a question of when. Of course, the Americans want him gone too, and yeah, Turkey is like the largest NATO partner, the largest NATO country after the U.S. And when the U.S. leaves, the U.S. left, and then Turkey pretty much moved in and took like a huge chunk out of the Syrian land and worked together with this whole Free Syrian Army thing. Yeah, they said it was to like give the Kurdic minority a piece of land, I think. But coincidentally, it was the whole area they took was like filled with the whole oil rigs, the oil platforms. So, yeah.
Well, that's not a surprise. I mean, we know that's what they do is they go over there for the oil and resources. And we know, like with Iraq, there were soldiers that said that they were guarding oil fields. Like, they're risking their lives for oil fields. That should say it all.
Yeah. No, that is true. True. Then again, and right now, like we were discussing before, like oil is literally worth nothing anymore on the market.
Well, no, it's like what is it? Back up to like $10 a barrel or something now.
Yeah, yeah. Still nothing compared to what it was, I guess. I mean,
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's better than being negative $40. Somebody made a joke. I can't remember who it was, but they made a joke and said that oil went to $0 before Bitcoin did.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, no, that's true. They even they even
Yeah.
wrote like a huge article about it that Warren Buffett's investments were like going down and Bitcoin was like going up, and because Warren Buffett refused to go into Bitcoin, and he was like going into all these traditional things, and they were like showing the historical value of his investments, and they were like going down constantly, and Bitcoin was going up constantly. It's very funny to see.
Yeah, yeah, and Bitcoin's actually still up year to date, and the stocks. I don't know if the stocks are still down or not. They were down. They were negative, but Bitcoin is still a better investment than the stocks.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, it doesn't matter like what price Bitcoin is going to be in the short term. It's where it's going to be in the long term, and in a couple years, and that's what like people don't think. It's like if you put in like $100 or $150 or $500, whatever you can put in, that amount can turn into thousands and thousands of dollars. Like,
Yeah, well, when the stock market crashes, it's usually like the resources go up, and now we have the whole new cryptocurrency thing that also goes up huge. Like, people are like jumping out of traditional stocks and they're using like for like a rescue thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They mostly people have been going into gold and silver, but crypto is also catching that market. Because it's a new digital, it's a new digital asset. So I mean, in the long term, it'll be worth it because of the way that the economic code of Bitcoin is kind of there. I mean, every 4 years it cuts the circulating supply. I'm sorry, not circulating supply. The mining rewards supply into half, and also the inflation rate gets cut as a result. So I mean, it'll be worth it because it's once we get into the decimals for inflation rate. I mean, there's no currency in the world now that has first off, there's no currency in the world that has a 1.8% inflation rate. None. You can look it up. There are no currencies that have a 1.8% inflation rate. Number two, when that number goes under 1.8% and we get into the decimals of like 0.05 inflation rate or whatever, like, once we get to that point is where things will get very interesting, and Bitcoin should go surging in price. Because there's no currency in history that's ever been under 1.8% inflation rate.
Yeah, like we discussed, the Bitcoin is designed to have constant deflation because there is like a limited amount available. But that's kind of well, it's not the same as with gold and stuff because it's you can pretty much take more from the ground, but there is a limit in how much they take from the ground. But that is kind of how they play with the value, Like they can increase harvesting.
Well,
of
they
gold.
also, yeah, but for gold, they also have paper IOUs for gold. You
Mhm.
know, like, and that's what a lot of people are figuring out now is that those paper IOUs for gold, try to cash them out. You know what they'll tell you? They'll tell you that they don't have the gold to pay you right now because of everybody's doing that right now. They're cashing out for real gold,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Well, if they
that's the
that,
thing.
yeah, if they do that, then there will be like a shortage, right? In the end, or not?
Well, yeah, technically, I mean, it's because it's like there's only a certain amount of gold that they can process. Number one, number two is like, so if you try to get gold right now, they'll say that it's on hold for like a month or two. That's literally what it will be. You have to wait a month or two to get your gold.
Hmm.
You know, compared to buying a cryptocurrency, you own that crypto. You know, nobody can take that crypto from you as long as you have your keys and you keep them safe.
Yeah. See, and that sucks. Like, even though if you buy like gold and you get it later, you do have it at the same price, of course, but you can't like quickly sell it or whatever. It's like on the way to you, and it's like very difficult to trade with it.
Well, yeah, the paper IOUs, you know, it's like paper IOU gold. It's not real gold. Like you don't have the gold until it's physically in your possession. You know, so I mean, the difference here with cryptocurrency is you buy Bitcoin, you have that Bitcoin. It's not an IOU Bitcoin. You know, it's not a paper Bitcoin.
Yeah, I know that's just like it goes so fast. The trading is so fast with Bitcoin, and yeah, like
Well,
instantly.
yeah, if you're trading it, yeah, or if you're just holding on to it. I mean, it's whatever. When it comes to like gold, you know, like if you're trading your paper gold IOUs, sure, you can trade them all you want. That's fine. But when it comes down to actually being able to cash out to try to get that gold, you know, you can't. So it's a different story. So
Yeah.
you can trade those paper gold IOUs all you want, but you can't get the actual physical gold for like 1 or 2 months now, especially now because of the coronavirus stuff that's going on.
We had like a huge drop in value today of Bitcoin, by the way, of all cryptocurrencies. It's already at 12% now over the last hour or two. So
Yeah, but that's not the thing. Is like 12% in crypto is nothing. It's like, you know, like we're used to that volatility of 12%, 10%,
yeah,
fucking 20%. Now, if you say like 30 or 40% in a day, yeah, that's crazy. But the 10%, 20%, that's cryptocurrency.
yeah, 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 and it creates like interest for people to like buy it again because it's like super low now, and then yeah,
Well, yeah, when it dips like that, yeah.
that's
I
interesting.
mean, could it go down lower? Sure. Actually, we just it looked like we haven't. Did we close? Yeah. The thing is, this is weekend trading too. So I mean, like markets are manipulated, or cryptocurrency markets are manipulated on the weekends, and then all of a sudden there's a huge pump on the start of the weekday. But also, if this is considered to be a move, if we close at Sunday below 8,800, then we are probably going to move lower. And then we'll see where we kind of balance out for the support level.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
but right now, I mean, it's not a definitive close. I mean, if we close today or Sunday at below 8,800, we're going to go lower. If we close above 8,800, we're going to probably push back up.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we did hit 10K yesterday or the day before, so. But yeah, I mean it's just cryptocurrency. It moves up, moves down.
Yeah. Still, it's kind of shocking, right? Like you see that, but I think like when people see like a trend like that, then they will also do it. They will also like quickly sell and to rebuy it later at like a lower price. Like all this trend behavior, you have to really get used to it.
Yeah, if you're trading, I mean, yeah, I mean if you're just cost averaging in and buying and just holding until you're gonna sell, I mean it's a different story. That's the thing, like crypto allows you to cost average in. You can't cost average into stocks now because most stocks are overvalued.
Yeah, yeah. And now in these times, it's going even worse, right? Like, but there should be stocks going up. I think like Amazon is going up like crazy, for example, because they're like benefiting from these crisis things.
Yeah, Amazon. Yeah, yeah. Jeff Bezos is rolling in cash. I saw that an article where now this is not true, but they said that Jeff Bezos is the first trillionaire, and I was
Yeah,
like, okay, well, what about the black nobility families? You know, and
no,
I'm
that's
not
not.
going to
Yeah,
naming them, but the black nobility families, you know, they're a lot more um, richer than most of the millionaires and billionaires, and they are trillionaires. I mean, they owned a lot. They own a lot of wealth. So I mean, it's a lie, but yeah, yeah. Jeff Bezos is benefiting heavily from the COVID crisis because you got to think like when everybody's trapped inside, most stores are shut down. What are they going to do? They're going to order stuff online. Where are they going to order it? Amazon. You know, like
yeah, of course.
and
Yeah,
also the VP of Amazon quit because he said that he was fed up with the way that Amazon was treating workers and that they weren't um, basically they weren't giving workers PPE equipment, and he said it wasn't right. So I mean, he stood up for the workers, even though um, that he had like all of that going for him. You know, he quit. He was the vice president of Amazon. He quit.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, the thing is like, yeah, in economy, yeah, the money doesn't really disappear. It has to go somewhere. So they're just moving around money. Like it's always like when they're talking about an economic crisis, it's actually a huge charade because they're just moving the money, and it always ends up somewhere. People benefit from it. They're usually not like cashing out. Some might be cashing out. They move to the resources like gold, like you're saying, and like to crypto, for example.
Well,
But
yeah, that's true. That's true to a degree, but the thing is that like the dollar's value itself is dropping.
yeah,
So the actual, you know, like this is going to be confusing, but like a dollar is now equal to, and this I'm using this as an example. I don't know if it's true, but a dollar is now equal to like 56 cents or something like that. You know, like
yeah. But then you're talking about inflation calculations, and that means that they are like literally they're basing the value on of the dollar on what like the gold or the coffee costs in dollar. So you can say like
right.
yeah, like if more people start buying gold, the gold goes up, and if like more people suddenly start buying coffee as an investment, this price goes up too. And if you pick like a few key stocks or key resources, then yeah, this price goes up compared to the fiat currency. Uh, Yeah, it's difficult to
Right.
explain because
Yeah,
they keep
yeah.
printing new fiat currencies, but the other things can't always be printed, but they will still be bought.
Well, they're
And
devaluing. Yeah, because they keep on printing more fiat currency. They're actually devaluing the
yeah,
value of the fiat currency. So that's what they're doing.
yeah, because you introduce like more and more into the market. Like if when you have 11 apples for sale, but they only need 10 apples, and then you reduce the price of the apples. So simple as that. You have too many apples for the market.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Except in this case, since they're printing more money, the prices of products are going up
yeah,
because it's inflation. Like
yeah. You're not printing more and more of the products, so yeah, you're printing more money and not products, resources. So yeah,
well, yeah, that has to also do with like supply and demand and stuff like that. I mean, it's like if there's more supply than there is demand, then they're going to have to, depending on what the product is. But if the product is food, right? The product is food. It has an expiration date. So then all of a sudden, they're going to have to get rid of some of those products, and then it becomes like a shortage situation for some products. Like for instance, for meat, because of there's meat plants that are being shut down because of the COVID thing.
yeah, yeah. The thing is like with like these global money markets, like what we just discussed too, that you have two different economies, but you have the real economy too, right? So there's a certain type of products that has a different value too, not just an investment value. And with food too, it is necessary. You need it, but you only need specific amounts of it.
Right. But then when you have the supply chain disrupted, that's when prices can go up. But at the same time, you're introducing inflation while the supply chain is being disrupted, right? You're going to have astronomical prices for some products when there's a shortage of supply, because one, you're already pushing the price up with inflation, and two, you're pushing the price up with the shortage in supply.
Yeah,
I recently kind of got to see that for myself when I went to the grocery store to get soup, and I see that the soup is now $3.50 a can, and I'm like, holy fuck! Like the last week that I was here, soup was only $1.50. I'm like, oh my god, it went up $2. So it's like, what the fuck? Crazy, man. Like, just seeing how prices kind of get gouged up as this COVID thing is going on. I think that soup is probably going to go up to being like $5 a can within the next couple months.
sorry, I was a little distracted. Okay, yeah.
It's all right. I know it's late there, man. We should probably cut it, but
I just want to make
yeah,
sure that we covered everything you wanted to cover. Like, so we covered these drills, right? We covered the huge drills in Europe to intimidate Russia. We covered the Guaido thing in Venezuela.
yeah.
Yeah, the scare.
Taiwan.
Did we cover Taiwan already? Like, oh yeah, the scare missions in the waters around there, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Chinese claiming they. Yeah.
Yeah, we covered that, and then we also covered the drills in Russia, and we covered Belarus. We covered a lot of information tonight for sure, and then we went off track and started talking about U.S. politics and EU politics. But
Yeah.
I mean, in general, I mean, it does have to do with geopolitics. Some of it, I mean, dependent, but it is a part of it in some ways. So I mean, it's not that irrelevant.
Yeah, and yeah, perhaps we should still mention that we are planning like another Twitter storm, right, for Clovers for Assange. Like last time, it's 2 weeks ago, we did like a Clovers for Assange thing on Sunday, but like last week we had a whole World Press Freedom Day, of course. So it is likely we will do like another Twitter storm Sunday. For me, it's already Sunday. It's a Sunday for Clovers for Assange, I guess. I mean, it seems like a wise idea. We prepare a lot of tweets in the international languages like Spanish and German and Italian. So
Yeah, if we have the time to do that, I mean, it's kind of a little short notice to do it just tomorrow. I mean, that's just my opinion of it. I think it'd be better just to do it next week, where we have a whole week to prepare and get tweets out and everything.
yeah,
Last
perhaps.
time-
Yeah.
Last time the tweets were rushed, and the tweets, some of them were actually too long for Twitter.
Yeah, I noticed that too. We made some mistakes with that.
Yeah, well, I won't say some of them. I did say some of them, but it was a good majority of them. To be honest, it was a little bit more than half. To be honest with you, I mean, they were too long, and I just had to go back and edit and delete and everything. I mean, we want to make it easy for people where they don't have to do that.
Yeah, yeah. But we just wanted to do that. We just wanted to have some attention for the Assange case, right? And well, we
Yeah,
were
I know.
using Clovers for Assange for a few days before that already, and more people started to use it, and thought like maybe we can make it trending together if we all do it like at once. Get like these different chat groups where already people were using the whole Clovers for Assange thing. So I don't think we actually got it trending in like the major areas. Perhaps in some countries we actually did get it trending, but there were at least a few hundred people tweeting at once. It was nice to see that. But maybe, well, even if we don't do like the whole Twitter storm tomorrow, it's still always nice to keep just tweeting using the hashtag. It gets more.
Yeah,
Yeah, it gets more pull, and it is an interesting hashtag. People like it, like the symbols and stuff. So let's take a Clovers for.
well, yeah, it's always important to talk about Assange's case and discuss what is going on in regards to his case. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, and some people were worried that maybe a new hashtag would distract people from the main hashtag Free Assange, the one we always use. So if you use Clovers for Assange, it's all nice and you will get a lot of exposure, but maybe add Free Assange to it too, to the same tweets. Just a little extra word, and you can still make a huge tweet about all kind of stuff and add some picture. But you can use like both of these hashtags, and I'm not sure if I should. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, actually, people were pissed off that you're using Clovers for Assange over the Save Assange COVID-19 hashtag.
Oh, that, yeah, but I don't know if that one is ever. It was an interesting one. By the way, I haven't heard that thing. I received some messages about people who were worried that we would push away the Free Assange hashtag. But I was never worried about that because we still always use that one too. I even literally have it even like in my Twitter profile bio, the Free Assange hashtag. But the Clovers thing is just like a quick meme to make it like viral, like a viral meme, right?
Yeah, it's in a sense it's kind of like commercializing things, using the Clover to kind of push the message out there to some regards places that we wouldn't normally reach. Because it creates interest. People see that clover and then they go, "Oh, what's that?" Like stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we need a symbol. I also saw someone using like yellow ribbon today. I thought it was weird. Yellow ribbon is the symbol for Free Catalonia because they are not allowed by Twitter to have their own flag, and they consider themselves an independent region, and Twitter doesn't give them their own flag, so they use a yellow ribbon. Perhaps they don't mind, maybe that it will also that some people also use it for Assange, but all the media calls it the yellow ribbon movement from Catalonia. So if you just put like a yellow ribbon in, you think this is for Assange, the outside world will just consider this a Free Catalonia symbol. I just want to say this because this is in all media, and even the president of Catalonia has the yellow ribbon on his suit as a symbol. So
Yeah.
be careful with that. The whole how is it called? The sand thing, the WikiLeaks symbol. What is it called? Like the
Hourglass?
hourglass. Yeah, that is a common symbol people use for Assange too. The hourglass. And yeah, we use like the clover. I think like a good luck thing for like we donate our good luck and hope that it helps, right?
Yeah.
This is symbolic. Yeah, if we covered everything, then we should close up. Okay, so I'm not sure if we do like the Twitter stomp tomorrow for close for Assange, but if you want to do that, you can always do it yourself. I mean, we don't have like any leaders or whatever, but maybe we will also like make like a big plan for next week. So, but if you decide to like start mass tweeting close for Assange, if I see your tweet, I will of course like retweet you and stuff. So, just do what you want with that. Okay, I'm not sure when we will be back. I know maybe we will be back very soon, like in a day or two, or we will have the regular episodes on Thursday. Last Thursday we didn't go live because Tyler had some other stuff to do. He couldn't go. He couldn't get on. We have some very interesting guests upcoming. I'm not sure if you want to mention that already, like the musicians and stuff. But we have some very interesting guests upcoming soon in the next few weeks, I assume. And
Yeah. Okay. So haven't discussed when.
no.
But we will be having on awkward raps. He's a good friend of mine, and we'll be having on Diesel Automatic, another good friend of mine. Both of these guys are activist rappers. They put out very thought-provoking music. So we're going to be having them on within the next couple weeks, somewhere in that time frame. Yeah, I'm not sure if you have any other guests. You want to mention Preston guest that he has lined up?
Oh,
Yeah, that guy. That guy.
I'm not sure. Okay, I will mention it. So we have a guest coming up, and he is like this is going to be shocking. Okay, but we have a guest coming up, a Zionist, and he is like a former member of the actual Knesset party in Israel.
So this should be fun.
Yeah, this will be fun.
And we don't really know if that guy's gonna come on. I mean, he might not. He might all of a sudden, like, decide he's not gonna come on. But
Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. Well, we will. We will get back about that. Okay, so please help us to share this. I'm sorry for it being a little slow, but I'm distracted and it's super late here. It's 5:22 at night, so we will be back soon. Please help to share this. That's what we depend on, and thanks everyone for listening. Sharing is caring. I forgot we were like using like Telegram to broadcast. So weird.